What's up, y'all? It is Dominic here for Obligatory, bringing you an overview of the new releases in music for the week ending in Friday, October 13th. At the top of this week, we have Westside Gunn, who has led a revolution of abstract and luxurious street rap in recent years. And Then You Pray For Me, as its title suggests, is a spiritual successor to one of Gunn's fan-favorite albums, 2020's Pray for Paris. The production here subverts some of his usual trends, but what remains are his notorious curating efforts, bringing worlds together through his hand-picked bill of producers and guest features. The names are simply too many to list, but Rick Ross, Jeezy, Jid, and Denzel Curry all make appearances, with surprise after surprise coming in this department. On production, we have RZA, multiple Take Keith beats, Conductor Williams, Derringer, and Beat Butcha. Love him or hate him, Westside Gunn creates a unique spectacle with every album release. And Then You Pray For Me is an in-house release coming from Griselda Records, co-founder. Among this week's most dynamic hip-hop listens, we have abstract rapper Mike returning just weeks after his collaborative release with Wiki and the Alchemist. Burning Desire teases the imagination with striking compositions that feel like a stylistic turning of the page for the New York-based MC. If you know and love Mike, you get a lot of what you'd expect from his trademark lo-fi production and sluggish delivery. If you were hoping to hear him expand that sound, that's exactly what he does on both sides of rapping and producing. It clocks in at 50 minutes across 24 tracks, with features from Earl Sweatshirt, Liv, Larry June, and several more. Burning Desire is out now through 10K Records. Offset drops his second solo album with the release of Set It Off. It is a little bit on the longer side with 21 tracks on it, but there are a handful of features sprinkled throughout, with Travis Scott, Future, Cardi B, and more popping up on here. Bad Bunny shares his fifth album in as many years with the release of
Nadie sabe lo que va a pasar mañana,
which in English translates to Nobody Knows What Will Happen Tomorrow. It is out now via Remas Entertainment. Atlanta punk group Upchuck released their sophomore album Bite the Hand That Feeds. They enlisted the help of Ty Segall on this one, as Segall produced, engineered, and mixed the album at his home studio in Southern California. It's a razor-sharp record that is just bursting with raw and youthful energy that ties directly into the album's themes of really just trying to find ways to persevere and find moments of joy that allow you to keep going. Bite the Hand That Feeds by Upchuck is out now via Famous Class Records. Also this week, Lorraine returns this year with her third studio album, I Killed Your Dog. It is the follow-up to 2021's Fatigue, which put her on many more radars with its atmospheric blend of alternative R&B and Neo-Psychedelia. Her beloved psychedelic backdrops remain intact here, this time with a steady surrealist edge that more clearly incorporates numerous genres into the mix. For its relative density, it is an album that delivers 16 tracks into a neat 36-minute package, and it is out now via Mexican Summer. Earlier this year, Boygenius, the trio of Julian Baker, Phoebe Bridgers, and Lucy Dacus, released their long-awaited debut album, The Record, and have continued to amplify the superstar status of one another through a ton of live shows and high-profile press appearances. This week, they're circling back with a 4-track EP titled The Rest, featuring 4 songs that didn't make the final cut for The Record. Before we move on to some of these singles from this week, here are 2 more albums we want to give quick shout-outs to. The first of those being Squirrel Flower, the indie folk project of Chicago-based musician Ella Williams, who goes in a louder and more rock-oriented direction with her new album, Tomorrow's Fire, which comes by way of Polyvinyl Records. And last but not least, we have Atlanta rapper and Opium signee Ken Carson, who shared his third album this week with the release of A Great Chaos. Jumping into some singles from this week, we have a new one from Pinkpantheress with Capable of Love, a dreamy fusion of alt-pop and breakbeat that I'm pretty sure is her longest song yet at 3 minutes and 43 seconds. Somehow, it has already been 2 years since she released her debut project, To Hell With It, which feels really weird to say. Nonetheless, that was billed as a mixtape, and we still haven't gotten an album yet. But that is about to change, as the English singer and producer has announced her debut album, Heaven Knows, which will be out on November 10th through Warner Records. In addition to this new one, it'll also include the previously released singles Mosquito and Boy's a Liar Part 2. Coming off the heels of a collab with Mike and the Alchemist just a few weeks ago, New York rap veteran Wiki has already announced another project on the way titled 14K Figaro. This one will see Wiki teaming up with frequent collaborator and fellow New Yorker producer Tony Seltzer. The project's announcement comes alongside the single That Ain't Pat, which is the second preview we've gotten after the duo released Numb last week. 14K Figaro comes out next month on November 10th. Maryland band Full of Hell and Philly band Nothing have a collab album on the way, announcing it this week with the lead single Spend the Grace. Full of Hell typically lean towards grindcore and sludge metal, while Nothing is often categorized as shoegaze, but as Nothing's bandleader Dominic Palermo described the pairing in a press release, Quote, both Full of Hell and Nothing deal with the same genre phobia. We've been called any style you can think of, but we're both simply intent on making soul crushers. And if Spend the Grace is any indicator, this joint album titled When the Birds Sang will be chock full of said soul crushers. The full record will be out December 1st through closed casket activities. Since 2015, Midwest musician Erik Nervous has put out a slew of EPs and a couple albums, both solo and as Erik Nervous and the Beta Blockers, and has been one of the most prolific names within the somewhat niche egg punk genre. In simplified terms, egg punk is a more playful form of garage punk that really leans into the most eccentric, Devo-esque qualities of punk. And this week, Erik Nervous announced his new album, Immaturity, and shared the lead single, Drop Dead. It's got some anxious and semi-dark lyrics, but you'd be hard-pressed to find many singles from this week that are as bouncy or just straight up as catchy as this one. Immaturity will be out November 3rd on Feel It Records. Car Seat, Headrest, and the Beths team up for a double single in tribute to both the Postal Service and Death Cab for Cutie. Both of those Ben Gibbard-fronted acts just wrapped up a tour celebrating 20-year anniversaries of some landmark records in the Postal Service's Give Up and Death Cab for Cutie's Transatlanticism. Coming via Sub Pop, we've got two covers in which Car Seat Headrest offer a punchy take on Death Cab's We Looked Like Giants, and the Beths, with some help from Pickle Darling, sharing a gentle, sorta twee folk take on the Postal Service track Brand New Colony. New York noise punk group Cronies have announced a new album with the release of lead single Rent Boy. On it, the band balances abrasiveness in these really deep, slow grooves about as good as anyone. You could point to fellow New Yorkers Showing the Body as another band who operate in similar territory, but Cronies definitely have their own unique vibe, and I really recommend any fan of noise rock, post-hardcore, and the like give this one a listen. Their new album, Live Sicko Love Fest, comes out next week on October 20th via Reptilian Records. Quick shoutouts to some more great singles before we wrap things up. We've got new ones from London rock band Bar Italia, Brooklyn shoegazy noise pop group Hotline TNT, and Bay Area punk rockers Spiritual Cramp. All three of those artists have albums coming out in just a few weeks, with all of them set to drop on November 3rd in what looks to be a really strong release week. The past several weeks have just been absolutely loaded with tons of new releases, so we obviously didn't get to cover everything in this video, but if you want to see the full list we put together, you can check that out on your screen or head over to our socials. Otherwise, we are currently polling for a ton of albums, including ones by Outkast, Olivia Rodrigo, Jeff Rosenstock, Mitski, Drake, Armand Hammer, Sufjan Stevens, and many more. If any of those artists are of any interest to you, whether you love them, hate them, or anywhere in between, make sure you check out our voting forums where you can submit a score, select top tracks, and submit a review for a chance to be featured. Lastly, check out our previous video where Dev covered some news stories and music that happened over the past week or so, and of course, thank you so much for watching.